Conservative pollster Frank Luntz pointed out a piece of data this week showing that the United States was either currently in a recession, which a lot of folks, myself included, tend to believe, or we're about to be in a recession. And I know the Trump administration loves to put a rosy picture on the economy right now, telling us that we had 4.3% GDP growth, which, as I've repeatedly pointed out, is physically impossible due to the fact that all of the things that basically make up GDP dropped in the third quarter of last year. So when everything drops, it's impossible for the overall number to go up. That's not mathematically even possible. But this administration admitted early last year, it was in March, when they came out and said, we're going to change the way we calculate GDP. So they knew almost a year ago that what they were going to do was going to make things so bad that they were going to have to start cooking the books in advance, and that's exactly what they've done, which tells me, of course, we are in a recession. But again, conservative pollster Frank Luntz pointed to even more data that hints very strongly that we are in fact in a recession. He shared a chart that was recently featured in a Substack article by data analyst Joseph Politano, and Luntz said this about the chart. He said, America is losing blue-collar jobs, something that last occurred during the early pandemic and the 2008-2009 Great Recession. Employment across trades and industry is down 123,000 jobs since early 2025. And has declined nearly every month since February. Blue-collar jobs. We are talking about manufacturing. We're talking about warehouses and shipping. We are talking about construction. In the last year of the Biden administration, 2024, those numbers were going up. And that also is shown in the chart that Luntz shared from Politano. Those jobs were going up. Why? A little piece of legislation called the Inflation Reduction Act. Remember that? That big infrastructure bill that the Biden administration, the Democratic Congress passed. Biden signed it. Yeah, it took a year or so for things to really kick into high gear and for the projects to start materializing, but they did materialize. So the jobs in that sector started going back up. And when Trump took office, Republicans took over everything. Everything goes back down. So when Democrats were in charge, jobs were going up, and Republicans in charge, and the jobs are going down. And by the way, the only other two times, as Luntz points out, again, he is a conservative pollster, but the only other times this century we have seen that happen, one, both Republican presidents, two, both happened during recessions. We hit a recession during the pandemic. We hit a recession, obviously, in the Great Recession. Great Recession started by George W. Bush. Pandemic recession, Donald J. Trump. We're doing the same thing. Just like we had a recession under the previous Republican president before George W. Bush, which was George H.W. Bush, we also had a recession in the Republican president before H.W. Bush, which was Ronald Reagan. There were actually several during that time. Oh, and before that, we also had one under Gerald Ford. So, yeah, this is what Republican presidents do. They destroy the economy. Now, technically, the one that happened under Ford actually technically was labeled a recession once Jimmy Carter had taken office, but all the pieces of that had been put in place by Ford and the Nixon administration prior to that. So just so everybody's aware, that's how that chain of events happened. If you go back and actually study it and learn about the situation, that's what happened. But every Republican president puts this country into a recession. And we are seeing the exact same thing happen right now. We are hemorrhaging blue-collar jobs. Small businesses are filing for bankruptcy at a record rate, also not seen since the Great Recession. So all of these indicators are telling us that everything is horrible. Wages are not keeping pace with inflation. Inflation is still higher than the Fed estimates. Everything is bad. But you hear the story coming out of this administration, and what do they tell you? We've got record-breaking growth across the country. And if that's true, I'd love to see it. Because right now, all of us see are job losses, rising prices, and no end to any of that in sight. Thanks for watching, and if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do so, and do not forget to like and comment and share widely among your friends.